What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? This is just for lifestyle. This is just for lifestyle. Yeah, I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right.
Alright, so let's talk about this watch. This is the Moboy Ticwatch Pro 3 Ultra. That is a mouthful. But essentially, this is Moboy's flagship watch that's powered by the Wear OS platform by Google. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the pros and the cons pertaining to the watch and give you guys some specifications about it and tell you whether or not it's worth it. So let's get right to it. So right off the bat, let's just get the display specs out of the way. So this watch has a 1.3-inch display. It's an AMOLED display. So essentially, you're going to be getting the best of the best quality when it comes to the display technology. And really, one really important quirk that I actually want to talk about as far as this display is concerned is actually the dual display technology. A lot of other Wear OS watches in this price range don't actually have this option available, but this watch actually has it. So when you leave the watch idle on the table or idle on your wrist, it conserves battery life by giving you a very fundamental, basic display, very similar to what you would find on a Casio G-Shock. But if you actually want to interact with the UI of the watch, then all you have to do is tap on the display with your hand or finger, and then it'll actually give you that Wear OS UI that everyone is used to. I think this is genius just because it increases battery life immensely. I've never seen any other Wear OS watch implement this type of technology before. So, hats off to Moboy for actually thinking about this and actually increasing the battery life. So let's talk about the ratings that this watch actually has in terms of water rating and dust rating. So it has an IP68 water resistance rating. So that means you can submerge this in 1.5 meters of depth in full water and it will be able to survive. And a nice added touch that this watch actually has is that it can actually rid itself of excess water. So suppose that you're actually swimming with this watch, you decide to take it for a swim and then you actually submerge this in the swimming pool. And the moment you actually take the watch out of the pool, it will rinse itself of the excess water that's trapped inside the watch. In addition to this, as far as the dust rating is concerned, it has a military grade dust rating. No, in terms of dust rating and water resistance rating, you will definitely not have any issues. But apart from this, all of the other features pertaining to the watch are pretty standardized. It's what you would expect for a Wear OS device. So, if you've actually used Google's Wear OS platform, then you know how it functions. So you just press the button, it'll give you the list of applications and you'll be able to scroll through that list of applications. This watch is no different. It'll give you all of your different applications. It has a microphone. That means that you'll be able to take phone calls directly on the watch if someone is calling you. You can also make phone calls directly on the watch. You don't have to use your phone for that. But again, it has all of these different applications like Spotify, Google Maps to navigate, and it can also track your sleep when you're sleeping. And you also have a lot of other customization options like being able to change the watch face directly on the watch or through the application. A lot of different features available, pretty standardized, but still a really nice touch. So a couple of other things that I actually want to mention about this watch is, first of all, the Wear OS version, currently running on 2.25, which is the latest version of Wear OS, but with that being said, this watch is slated to get Wear OS 3.0. In addition to this, it also has 100 different exercise modes. You can choose from bicycling, you can choose from running, jogging, paddling, whatever the case is. And then in addition to this also has the Snapdragon Wear 4100 processor for the chipset. So a couple of other features that I actually forgot to mention is the heart rate scanner. So this watch actually has a heart rate sensor, which is pretty standard. A lot of other Wear OS watches in this price range have that. But one thing that's actually unique is the fact that this watch actually measures your heart rate rhythm, which is a little bit different. So throughout the day, if you want, you have the option of letting it measure your heart rate rhythm. So if it detects any abnormalities in your rhythm, it will inform you, or even if your heart rate rhythm is normal, it'll still inform you. And then in addition to this, you also have the option of doing 24-hour heart rate monitoring. So when you have the watch on, you can select that option from the menu, and periodically throughout the day, it'll just measure your heart rate and let you know what your heart rate is at any given point in time. Okay, so now I'm actually going to be talking about some of the pros and the cons pertaining to this watch and tell you whether or not it's worth it at the price point of approximately $260. The price of this watch actually varies a lot over time. You can get it on Amazon, but be sure to be on the lookout for coupons and whatnot because the price actually fluctuates a lot. Right off the bat, the first two pros that I actually want to talk about are the battery life and the display, which actually go hand in hand with each other. So in terms of the display, like I already mentioned, this watch has a dual display technology. When you leave the watch idle on the table or on your wrist and you're not interacting with it, then it'll give you this old-fashioned display. But if you actually interact with the watch, then you have the option of touching the screen and then you'll be greeted with all the applications pertaining to the watch. So the other pro I actually want to touch on is how buttery smooth this watch actually is. Compared to other Wear OS watches, I've used Fossil in the past, I've used Huawei, I've used both of those watches, and I gotta say that this watch is by far the smoothest Wear OS watch that I've actually owned. It barely stutters at all, it barely has any hiccups, it's just buttery smooth when you're actually scrolling through the application list. In comparison to these other watches actually stutter and hiccup a little bit. So the last pro that I actually want to talk about is the brightness of this watch. I really love the brightness. The only reason why is because this is an AMOLED display. You're going to be getting really bright, punchy, images when you're actually interacting with the watch, especially when the watch is in direct sunlight. I've never really had the issue of having to squint to see my notifications when the watch was in direct sunlight. It was definitely really bright enough for me to actually be able to read the notifications. So now I'm actually going to be talking about some of the cons pertaining to the watch. First thing I want to talk about is the naming convention used to describe the watch. By name, this watch is known as the Ticwatch Pro 3 Ultra. The last word is Ultra. And when a product is described as being ultra, I expect it to be ultra in every single category. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this watch is inferior by any means, but I'm saying that it could be better, specifically in the build quality aspect. The build quality for this watch isn't bad by any means, but I'm saying that if a watch or if a product has the word ultra in it, then I'm going to be expecting the best of the best material. And this watch doesn't deliver on that front. This watch actually uses a rubberized band and actually doesn't use stainless steel as far as the actual bezels around the display is concerned. If it used a material like chrome or stainless steel, like the Fossil watch, for example, it would have definitely been a lot more premium. Another con that I want to talk about is actually the lack of color options to choose from. So if you actually go ahead and buy this watch either on Amazon or eBay, you'll see that this is the only available variant that you could choose from as far as the GPS variant is concerned. Okay, so the last con I want to actually talk about is the microphone and speaker quality. So the microphone and speaker quality on this watch, in my opinion, are okay. They get the job done. That means that you'll still be able to make phone calls on the watch, you'll still be able to receive phone calls, but it is subpar. The microphone quality is rather muffled. The person speaking on the other end, you'll be able to hear them speak through the watch speaker, but it is a little bit muffled and it's not really clear. Same thing when you're actually talking to the person on the other line. I've heard people complain about how my voice is a bit muffled and they can't hear it properly when I'm actually talking through the watch. With that being said, it's definitely not a deal breaker because let's be honest, how often do people actually talk directly through their smartwatches? The majority of the time, people actually attend phone calls on their phones. So this leads me to my final question. Is this watch worth it for the price point of around $260, $250? I think the short answer is yes. All right, it's definitely worth it. You have a host of features available. It is very buttery smooth. It has a beautiful display. It has amazing battery life. And when I say amazing, it is amazing. 72 hours of solid battery life. You don't have to charge it every single day. You just have to charge it once every 3 days. Really great display, a really big display. 1.4 inches is definitely very big compared to other watches. All of these things considered, I think it's definitely worth it. Now, of course, they could have used better material for the build quality of the watch. They could have given consumers more color options. These are definitely not deal breakers. I would say if you're looking for a solid watch to work out in, to exercise in, to use as your daily driver, then definitely go for this. But that's pretty much been it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Take care.